Hello guys, my name is Shubham. Today I'll be explaining you the important feature of list, how to loop through the list. So consider like we have something called a list, which is a collection of similar or different data types. So let me take the example as this. So we have a list in which we have collection of words like apples, mangoes, and oranges. Okay, now I would like to show you what is the how to loop through this list. In order to loop through this list, we can either use there are two ways of looping through this list. Either first one is for loop and while loop. In for loop we have two ways of looping. One is more Pythonic, other one is index based looping. So let me explain you what is normal way and what is index based looping. So if we will talk about for loops, so let's start with for I in list new. If I'll do this and then if I'll print the value of I, okay, and if I'll execute this code, what I'll be getting apples, mangoes, oranges. Okay, so this is the feature, this is the what I'll be getting. So if consider like if I want to get the output in same line, what I'll do is I'll give here end equal to space. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll give here print to get a new line at last. So let's go and execute it. So see what I'm getting is apples, mangoes, and oranges. So this is what for loop means. This is what looping through list means. Now since we have understood about this concept of see, this code is more Pythonic. It is more Pythonic way of writing loop. Pythonic way. Okay, now there are other ways also. Let's learn about index based looping. So what we do generally in index based looping is we have here I is changing from apples to mangoes to oranges. Now what I'll do is for I in range of length of list new. Before learning this feature of index based looping with for loop, what we need to do is we need to learn about what is range function. So what is range function? Let's start with the Python IDE. In order to if you will do range of 10, we will be getting an object. So in order to get a range of 10, what we'll get 0 to 9. So range will give you object and you need to do typecasting of that object, then only you'll be getting 0 to 9. Okay, now so we learned what we learned is we learned like range of something will give the element from will give a list from 0 to that element minus 1. Like if you'll give 10, you'll get 0 to 9. If you'll give range of 5, you'll get 0 to 4. That is the that is what it means. Okay, now as we learned about range function, so let's learn about length function. So what is length function? Len is a function which will give you that length of the total list. What is the length here? The length of the list is 3. One, because there are 3 elements in the list: apples, mangoes, oranges. So there are, since there are 3 elements, we will be getting the length of list new to be 3 and range of 3 will be 0, 1, 2. So this entire thing, will give you what? This entire thing will give you 0, 0, 1, and then 2. Okay, so this is what we are doing here. Okay, now as we know, so I will be changing from 0. I will be changing the change of I will be changing to 0 and then 1 and then 1 and then 2. Okay, so this is what this is the way I will be changing. Now in order to print the value of the list, we need to use the index. So I is index here. So if I'll do I, if I'll give I here and save it and then run the code again, what I'll be getting? I'll be getting, let me read this, let me comment this part out. Okay, so if I'll execute this code, what I'll be getting? Apples, mangoes, and oranges. So this is what index based looping means. See, here we are using index to loop through this element. So this is the way of looping through Python, looping through the list using for loops. Now we will be learning about, as I told you, we have something called end, and if I'll do execute this, I'll be getting like this in the same line. If I want to get the output in the same line, I have to do this. in different line I have to do this. Okay, now since we have understood about the concept of for loops, now we'll be learning about while loop. So what is while loop? What, when we'll be using for loop and when we'll be using while loop? See, it depends. You can use anywhere any loop. It depends upon what you want to do. It's not mandated that we should use always for loop or we should use always while loop. It depends upon the situation. Like you can wherever, whenever, or wherever you will be using for loop you can use while loop, or wherever you'll be using while loop you can use for loop. That is the meaning of using a for loop and while loop. Okay, now let's start with while loop. So what, before in while loop we have to define and define the value of I before incrementing. So while I, let me print the value of list content with the help of this while loop. So what I'll be doing is, while I length of list new, what length of list new will give you? Length of listener will give you 3. I is 0. I am incrementing I by 1 every time, and then before incrementing I am doing what? I am printing the content of the list by using this list underscore new of I. Okay, and then what I'll do, save it, and then I'll go back and then I'll execute it. So what I'm getting? Apples, mangoes, oranges. So how this is working, how control is flowing. So let me explain about the control. Okay, first, this I value is the initialization. So I is first 0, and then 0 is less than length of list new of 3, which is 3. I is 0, this value is 3, so 0 is less than 3, condition is true. So what it will happen is, list new of I, which is 0, will be printed. So what will be printed? Apples will be printed. Now I is incremented by 1, so 1 is less than 3, yes, it is true. So list new of 1, which is mangoes, will be printed. Then I will be incremented by 1, then which is 2, so I will be 2. 2 is less than 3, so list new of 2 is oranges. Okay, so and then I will be incremented by 3, so 3 is less than 3, condition false, so it will come out of the loop. That is how while loop and while loop works. In for loop we don't have to assign the values, like we don't have to initialize the value directly. We can do like this, for I in list new. Okay, we don't have to define what is I. Okay, it will be changing from whatever the content it is having. Like list new is having apples, mangoes, oranges. I will be changing to apple, from apples to mangoes to oranges, one by one. Okay, and here we can specify the range also. Consider like, as I told you in index based part. Okay, index based part, what we need to do is, we need to use a range function and length function to get the value of a list, to loop through the values. Okay, consider like, I want to print all the values. There is something called argument. In order to loop through the list, we can use argument unpacking. There is something called argument unpacking. So what is that argument unpacking? If I want to pass the if I want to print the content of a list, I can do like this also. So in order to loop through the list of the elements, like elements of the list, what we need to do is, we can use argument unpacking. So basically we need to put a star. If I'll give only list new, let's do the comparison with only list new and star list new. So if I'll do this list new and star list new, what I'll be getting? I'll be getting apples, mangoes, oranges, like this. And if I'll do with argument unpacking, this is called argument unpacking output. So what I'll be getting? I'll be getting apples, oranges, and mangoes. This is what, these are the ways with which we can loop through the list, either for loop, while loop, or argument unpacking. So the main confusion is where we'll be using for loop and while loop. It depends upon the situation, what we want to do. Where, as I told you, if you will be using while loop, you can use for loop for that also. It will not affect anything. But the problem, it will see, in while loop we need to initialize the value. We need to define the value before looping, because if I'll not do, let's see the values, like, let's see, if let me give a comparison. Like if I'll not define this I value, or I'll be getting error. So defining value is very important, and defining the value. Okay, I is this, and then let me do this. Let me delete this part, otherwise I'll be getting error. Okay, what I'll do is, I'll solve it. I is not defined. So what kind of error I'm getting? I is not defined. So in order to execute this code properly, I should be defined with some value. It is not mandatory to have only 0. You can have anything, like from when whatever the index you want to read first, you can have that value. So this is all about list, how to loop through the list, different ways of looping, more Pythonic way, indexing way. Thank you.